Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Crypto Marketing Insights. And been a while since we've done a little update here, like a week or so, I don't know, on the YouTube, right? Obviously, the members get updated every day, but we have been just super busy on other things in our marketing world. And honestly, I'm not a TA, right? This isn't a show you're supposed to watch every day for technical analysis of the markets, because that's not what I'm giving you here, as you should know. This is a show about marketing and its impact on Bitcoin and crypto, and vice versa, the impact of crypto and Bitcoin, things like that, the blockchain on marketing, and how these things go hand in hand, and what differences they have, what similarities they have, how they are helpful to one another, etc. What challenges they face, what opportunities we are looking at, what new developments are happening, what policies or regulations are affecting marketing, and so on and so forth. And recently I was asked to give more information about what we know about Libra coin, right, from Facebook and co, right, Facebook and all their extremely wealthy friends. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Uber, Kiva's a nonprofit, but a pretty well-heeled one. All these other great organizations, Thrive Capital, they're all out there making tons of money, and now they're a part of Libra Coin. How is that going to affect Bitcoin and crypto? Well, I already spoke about that at length on a stream recently. I know that the stream got cut off for the YouTubers, but hey, that's kind of roll with the punches on that one. You know, I, we don't make this content for YouTube first. So anyone watching us on YouTube, yay! I'm honored and thrilled that you're watching this at all. But these videos are really all made for the members, and so whatever we post on YouTube is like just for public consumption, because hopefully it's useful and educational and insightful to you. Because again, this is not financial advice. This is marketing information. Educational information about marketing. So hopefully you find it useful and to your benefit as a marketer, right? Or if you are marketing something, right? So what are some of the more interesting developments that have happened recently in the marketing world? Well, I mean, you can certainly argue that the price of Bitcoin, right, is an extremely palpable thing as far as marketing goes, if you're marketing anything related to crypto. Why? Well, because if you're dealing with crypto, if you price your services in crypto, and some people do, some companies do, that's a growing thing, obviously, then you really are affected by when the price rallies in either direction. Well, rallies usually means going up, but when the price moves very rapidly, some call it violently, in either direction, then it can greatly impact your business, right? If it rallies to the upside and your revenues are in Bitcoin, then yay, you're making more Bitcoin, and at present you're also making a lot more dollars because the price of Bitcoin is improving faster than the price of the dollar, right? So that means that this is a time, and I've been saying this for the past 18 months, or even more. When was I guess since January of 2018, during the beginning of the bear market. Like, this is the time to prepare. Well, now is the time to already be cashing in, basically, and running your marketing programs full steam ahead. Because even if Bitcoin doesn't meet the price targets that I've spoken about on this channel, for the curious, it doesn't matter, right? It is a growing market. You can say what you want. If you just look at the past 10 and a half years since Bitcoin was created, it is growing. It is expanding. You are in a position of watching your long-term holdings grow. If you have had money in Bitcoin since any time before I don't know, like early December of 2017, you are above that, right? The only time that Bitcoin's price was more expensive than it is now is like December 2017 and a little bit of January 2018, pretty much, right? So we're talking very little action up here in this range, very little prior action in this range, which means if you are making your money in Bitcoin, you are right now at pretty epic highs, even if we're not at the all-time highs. We're still at pretty high prices compared to its history. And the indicators, right, that all these TA people look at, they show you all kinds of things. Is it high? Is it low? It can be quite confusing if you're not into trading and all that. Right? But the indications that a lot of these people are talking about is that it shouldn't have any problem reaching at least the all-time high maybe by the end of this year, right? Which is like $20,000. So it could get to that range again. And if it does, apparently it won't be, running an overdrive yet, meaning it'll still have room to grow on top. Now, again, that's all what the TA people say. And why does it matter to marketing? Well, it matters to marketing because if they're right, then that means that you can expect your Bitcoin revenues to keep going up in value compared to the US dollar. But it also means that you have to adjust your prices accordingly. So, of course, make sure if you are pricing in Bitcoins, and you are probably doing this, I hope you are, but make sure you auto adjust your Bitcoin prices, right, against the dollar or whatever other currency you might be taking for your business, because you don't want to tell people that something costs, zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, which is roughly, like $1,100 or something now, today, but then tomorrow that same zero point 0.1 Bitcoin will be worth, $2,000 or whatever. You don't want to give people the wrong impression about your prices. You want to always keep them correct and know that you're not trying to exploit people based on extreme volatility in a market. You want to give people on your products stable prices that they can rely on. That way they don't feel like they're getting cheated by you or something like that. You want to make sure your business is always presenting prices that are, they could be going up over time, year over year, or every couple of years or whatever. But generally speaking, you want your customers to feel comfortable that they know what price they're paying on any given day, week, month, year, or whenever they pay you for their service, right? And the reason that that's important is because you're selling them services. You're not selling them investment opportunities, right? You're selling them services or products, right? Maybe you're selling them a video, maybe you're selling them clothes, maybe you're selling them food, maybe you're selling them educational material, maybe you're selling them who knows what, an application, right? It doesn't matter what you're selling them. What matters is that your customers don't feel worried that every time they go online to your site, they're going to get hit with a different price, right? Or every time they have to pay your monthly retainer, it's going to be a completely different value in the currency they are most familiar with, right? That's what matters here, right? Look at the price runs. What happens to price runs? Like when hyperinflation hits, look what happened in Cyprus. There was a run on the banks. Look what happened in Venezuela. People, throw money in the streets like as if it's garbage. I mean, it's bad, right? Look what happened in Zimbabwe. Their money's worth nothing compared to what it used to be, and it's worth nothing, basically. Um, all of these situations are ones you want to avoid. You don't want a run on your service where people are saying, "That's it, I'm getting out," because the prices are too volatile. So let Bitcoin and crypto be volatile, but don't let your pricing be volatile to them in their favorite currency, right? In whatever one you sell your products in, right? So sure, you could be, pricing it in Bitcoin, but realize that they're dialing into your website, or they're dialing in. They're logging onto your app, or they're logging onto your site from whatever the country that is that they're. Maybe they're in Japan, maybe they're in England, maybe they're in America, maybe they're in Brazil, maybe they're wherever they are, right? If you price things to them and you show them their local currency, you should show them the Bitcoin equivalent of that, of course, maybe even make the Bitcoin one bigger and the local currency a little smaller but very visible, clear, and right next to the Bitcoin price so that they can see the comparative in their own currency, right? And that way they understand that the prices are stable if they come back and see it again next time. Or relatively stable. Because, of course, if you offer multiple currencies, then you have to figure out which one is your standard, and that will affect all the other ones, right? But between fiat currencies, generally the movements in strong currencies, relatively strong, like the dollar, the euro, the yen, whatever you might be using, it's relatively stable enough that you can price things in any of those as your benchmark and then just adjust your Bitcoin pricing gauge. I don't want to go on too long about it because I think it's kind of obvious, but my point is it's an important feature when you're marketing crypto and blockchain that your crypto prices, whatever they are shown bigger, but your calculations are actually done in fiat on the backside, and that's purely because of volatility, right? Meaning your calculations of what your products are really selling for. Right? Now, there are exceptions to this rule. Yes, I know. That's fine. But I want to make sure that the 80% of you, or even more, 90% of you, who are not in the exception to the rule, are covered by not making the mistake of letting people see everything based in a Bitcoin price where that's the fixed benchmark, and therefore the actual price they'll pay in the fiat that they're most comfortable with will have outrageously wild swings, and you'll definitely lose customers as a result. Long-term customers, for sure. You may gain some short-term customers when it swings low, but as soon as it shoots back up high, those same short-term customers will leave you, faster than you can drop a stone. So keep that in mind. Price your products accordingly with the fiat that your customers are using really to pay for it. And even if you're letting them pay for it in Bitcoin, realize that they're probably thinking in fiat terms because they're still living under the fiat system, right? Very few people might be actually living in a Bitcoin or crypto mindset where they're already, I mean, there are people who do that and more, right? But most people still think in fiat. So make it easier for the majority of the market. And again, when that shifts to the point where more than half the market is using crypto actively every day and not using fiat, well, then you can shift your calculation as well, right? Because that'll be the new standard. Always do what the standard dictates in order to cover the bulk majority of your market, right? Just like I gave you this information, as opposed to focusing on just the exceptions, right? Now, I'll talk about the exceptions as well, but the point is make sure you cover your big blocks, make sure you move your big blocks in place, right, in your spaces, before you worry about the little blocks and then the tiny little grains of sand. Worry about the big blocks first. So, because that will cover and make sure that you are operating properly and growing with the majority of your potential. Even if you don't grow with 100% of your potential, at least make sure it's 80% or more, right? And that's how you do that. That's one way to do that. Okay. Been going on about this for a while. And yeah, no matter how you slice it, these are very interesting times in blockchain and crypto. The opportunities are immense if you are making crypto um, marketing campaigns that are very active right now, right? Because there's so much wild volatility, and that comes from a lot of renewed interest in existing people in crypto who may have been a little dormant for the past year and a half when crypto might have been below their buy and hodl price, or might have been just something they gave up on for a while. Um, there's a lot of action going on with, people are saying, well, is Tether responsible for all this growth because the more they print, the more, Bitcoin goes up? Well, obviously Tether is printed as a counter to Bitcoin. So yeah, the more Tether is being printed, what are they doing with that Tether? Well, we know that Tether buys Bitcoin, so yeah. Is it having an impact? I would say probably an impact. What impact? You know, not a negligible one. Um, this is definitely a time. Again, I'm not here to give you the go rah 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 and buy into Bitcoin every day thing. I'm not, right. Even when I talk about projects that I like and or even that I market and like, and I don't I only market projects I like, but even when I talk to you about the projects that I'm also marketing, not just that I like, but I'm actually involved in or even holding bags of or whatever. I never talk to you about it in a way that's intended to get you juiced and go get that crypto right now, right? No. I talk to you about why I think it has immense potential marketing impact, right? Um, like Ethlite, right? I've been talking to you guys a long time about Ethlite, right? Which I do market, right? And I have a little bag of or whatever, um, you know. But it's the only reason that I agreed to be the marketing guy ever on Ethlite was because it is a project that has enormous positive impact potential, right? You keep hearing this thing about the unbanked, the unbanked, the unbanked on crypto. It's a tired meme already. Ethlite's been doing it longer. Okay, they've been focused on it longer than it was a buzzword, right? This has been a buzzword now for 5, 6, 7 months. Everyone's been glomming onto it ever since I started talking about it. Ethlite is entirely designed for the unbanked. And there are other projects that have even been around before Ethlite that were doing stuff for the unbanked. And you could argue that Bitcoin was designed for the unbanked, right? But Ethlite has its own differences and its own merits. And the reason that I talk about it and its impact on marketing is because it's one of the few altcoins that's actually in ERC20 still and has met its roadmap, right? To date, they are on their roadmap. Most of these Ethereum based projects do not meet their roadmap, right? And Ethlite Crypto has, and it has released its first product on time, which is a very nice crypto wallet, right? And it is sticking to its development time of getting to the next stages in its roadmap. And the impact that this kind of project can have by delivering these kinds of services to people who are usually not able to access traditional finances, financial services, debit cards, insurance and escrow and all this kind of P2P loans, you know, having a crypto specifically built for that with low transfer rates and fast and secure and the whole deal that everything that crypto can give you, it really can be a game changer for people who are never going to use the unbanked services you hear touted that are completely unrealistic because they're built as if they're built for people living in the first world who don't mind paying ridiculous fees, right? Even Libra is not going to be worth it if you are unbanked. Now, they say they don't have fees and everything else, right? But trust me, they're not doing this for free, okay? You will be paying for the Libra you use. How will you be paying for it? Well, first of all, you're completely giving up your privacy to Facebook and everybody else that owns Libra, right? Completely. Second of all, you're putting yourself in their absolute control. Because maybe they don't charge you 50 cents to send that dollar or whatever to your friend, but maybe if you post something that they don't like, they shut off your access to your Libra for a few days, or a week, or a month, or a year, or forever. What are you going to do? It's a privately owned company, or publicly owned, publicly traded company. But Libra is an association, a consortium, a group of 28 companies. It's not any one of those companies, right? So if Facebook decides to shut off your access to your Libra account, or Libra wallet decides to shut it off, what are you going to do? Who are you going to complain to? There's no central bank. There's no government authority backing it. What are you going to do? right? That's something you don't have with a project like Ethlite Crypto. That's the whole point of these real decentralized currencies that are based on proof of work, right? That's the genius of a slow, quote unquote, proof of work system. You don't need an interfering third party to try to take control of your assets. That is why Bitcoin is the king of assets. That is why projects like Ethlic Crypto and others like it that are doing promising, amazing things are seeing the kind of positive response that they're seeing, right? Yeah, sure that altcoins have taken a hit against their BTC comparative and all that. Sure, that's an effect of the price of Bitcoin going through the roof relatively over the past year. And the reason that price action has been so strong, if you ask me as a marketer, right? Everyone's saying, "Oh, this is a ridiculous price action. We shouldn't be seeing prices this high. It's too early. This is too much." No, it's not too much, right? This is the result of the market realizing, hey, hang on, Bitcoin was highly undervalued for the past year and a half, and well, not the whole year and a half, but at least for a good 8 months of the past whatever it was since from November, even before that, because even when it was at 6, it was highly undervalued. So you could say pretty much from like March or April of 2018 until around roughly the same time in 2019, almost a year, Bitcoin was highly undervalued, in my opinion. And people say, "Well, how can you say that? It has no value. It's all speculative." Yeah, yeah. But if you look at the big picture, Bitcoin is speculative to the upside in general, right? It's not showing signs that it's going to zero anytime soon. It's showing signs of growth. You've got Fidelity investing in it and allowing traders to start trading it. They have select traders using it already. You've got Backed, the always it's a few months away. Backed coming online eventually at some point. You have Ledger, which was approved, right? You have overseas. You have one country after another doing moves to recognize or improve the position of crypto. You have more. You have ETFs left and right, frankly, outside of the U.S. going online, and other tradable equities and other kind of assets that are related to crypto that are coming online in the market because more and more companies are selling crypto products and crypto services, and more institutional investors want to let their customers invest in it, and more retail investors who are the even the well-to-do ones or the relatively well-to-do ones on services like Fidelity and elsewhere, they want to trade their assets in crypto, but through their safe and preferred platform, right? Which they know since forever, and that's what they trade. And if it's not on there, they don't trade it. Great. So there's a lot of demand coming from existing market players. Forget retail players that haven't even been in crypto yet. We're not there yet. We're still firing up the engines to warm up the crowd that already knows about crypto, and we're working on making new acquisitions, right? But you need to at least have your home base be warmed up, fired up, ready to go, and make the change, right? And get this market moving again, which they've been doing. And we see that clearly. We also see an increased number of people using leveraged trading, right? Leveraged trading, which is extremely crushing to like 99% of the people that try because they make bad losses and they get liquidated and they're out. It is not for everybody. It is absolutely not for everybody. And also they allow basically a kind of casino style mindset. Many people say when they allow you to leverage up to 100x, which is just crazy because as you all know, if you leverage 100x and the market moves like a 0.5% against your direction, you're liquidated, right? You're out, right? So that's why you should never use those kind of high leverages in those positions. But the fact is, there are some traders who are very good at it. And even if they use low leverage, it doesn't matter. They're very good at shorting the market, right? They know when to sell, right? And what does that mean? That means that, unlike previous bull runs, we have more people than ever who have the ability to stop the bull run from going up. Right? It's a natural part. The more sellers that are on the market, the harder it will be for the price to go up. And even if the overall percentage of buyers versus sellers is somewhat always in the favor, or largely in the favor of the buyers, still with enough sellers, or we're still at the point where a whale can drop $100 million worth of Bitcoin and tank the market by $1,000, $2,000, $2,500, right? That happens all the time. We just saw it happen a couple days ago. Somebody just sold, a couple hundred million or $100-something million worth of Bitcoin, and boom, price fell. From like 14,000 or whatever to like 12,000 or whatever the ranges are. Again, I'm not a technical analyst. Don't come to me for that. But it dropped a couple $1,000s in a matter of like 5 minutes because the sale was just going through. It took that long to go through. Maybe even it was longer. And all the exchanges were, what do you call it? Frozen, unable to be used. It was very hard for a lot of people to use exchanges. And people often complain, like, why are exchanges hard to use in times of extreme volatility? And the answer is, do you really think it's 100% a coincidence that they're unable to perform their service when price action is extremely volatile? Right? They're making money when you lose out on a deal, right? And they're also making money when you make money on the deal. So either way, it might not be in their long-term interest to have stalls, but short-term, they're definitely not complaining about the gains they're making when people can't execute their orders on time, right? And if you don't like it, well, you can always use another exchange, right? And you might experience the same thing, or worse, or not. I don't know. So all these things are indicators of why, all these market indicators are indicators of why marketing crypto and marketing blockchain now is a very strong thing to do for your marketing playbook, right? This will help you gain more traction by being warmed up with the people that are already in the market and understand it to some degree. You are getting in with the relatively early adopters, right? Yeah, you're not one of the pioneers of crypto. Sorry, you weren't there 10 years ago, right? Sorry, you weren't one of the very first adopters, but you are an early adopter. You aren't early in the sense that even if you just trade it, you're still adopting it in a form of use, which is to trade it for other things. So, yeah, crypto is not by any means in a downward spiral at the moment, and Bitcoin least of all. Right? Sure, you're going to have altcoins that are going to spike through the roof and get bigger gains than Bitcoin in any given day, week, month, or year. Fine. That's because they have tiny market caps, and if they go up from a few $1,000,000 a day to $100 million a day, they just 30x in a day for whatever the news was that week or something. And that's something to keep in mind. There's plenty of opportunity on the upside with some altcoins if you know which ones to pick. I could never tell you which ones to pick, um, you know, but there is unquestionable upside in the long term for Bitcoin, right? Um, Again, not financial advice, but for me as a marketer, it makes zero sense to not have Bitcoin as a price function on my products and services. Right? So I always offer it to my clients, right? Because it just makes no sense to not offer things. If I believe in it, certainly as a future currency that will matter, and I think Bitcoin will matter as a currency from now until the foreseeable future. Um, we've already seen that as a money base, right? When you compare Bitcoin to other currencies and assets, and if you exclude non-currency assets like gold and silver, Bitcoin is the 8th largest money base in the world right now. What does that mean? Well, that means that as a currency, not an asset type, because obviously there's way more derivative money, way more, all kinds of other assets money. As a currency asset right now, Bitcoin is number 8. And it doesn't matter. Somebody pointed out, I don't really care. Like, they didn't care if Bitcoin is number 8, 7, 6, 5, 2, 3, or even 1. It doesn't matter. The fact is, it's in contention. It's in the top 10. It's larger than actual currencies of real countries. I mean, just imagine that. Bitcoin, which was 0.003 cents when it was first introduced to be traded on the exchange, has now amassed a value to the point where it literally is the 8th largest currency on the planet. And barely anybody uses it, the naysayers say. Right. So, how much more valuable do you think it will be when everybody uses it, or when 80%, or when 30% even use it? Right? Just think about it. If we're at, um, let's just be generous and say 5% of the people on planet Earth use Bitcoin, which, like, on a regular basis, which there's no way that that's the number, but let's just say it is 5%, and the price is at 11.7 thousand right now. What do you think the price is going to do when instead of 5% of the planet using it, we have 25% of the planet using it, like times 5, right? When might that happen? Well, if the marketing campaigns are done correctly by all the big and small companies involved, you could easily see 25% of the people on the planet using crypto in the next 5 years. How could that happen? Well, the internet grew at a rate which went to a billion within 20 years of its commercialization, right, in the late 80s and early 90s. So within 20 years of that, let's say within 20 years of Netscape happening, which was 1990, what, 3, 4, something like that. From 1993, 1994, until 2000 by 2000 there were already a billion, right? Let's say by 2014, when we had already more than 2 billion people on the internet. That's already more than a third of the population at the time, right? Now we're slightly over 7 billion, but 5 years ago we were still in the 6 billion range. So we had roughly a third of the people, 33% of the people using it within 20 years of its commercialization. And of course, the internet had been around since the late 60s, or since the 60s, or sorry, the 60s. Not in a commercial sense, but in a technological protocol layer, it did exist. People were using it to do things, and it did exist, right? There was email, there was even a different kinds of repositories of information, not the web, but Archie, all those kind of things. Veronica, and all those things. If you're familiar with those things, you might be old school, but my point is, it took 40 years for the internet to go from 0 to a couple billion. But it really only took the internet about 10 years to go, even less, but let's just say 10 years, to go from like 0 at a commercial level, I mean beyond governments and universities and students and things like that, to go from 0 commercially, after when you started getting those CDs with your magazines to sign up to an internet host, internet service provider, right? Whether it was AOL or smaller ISPs, like back in DC, there was one called Errols, right? Internet service back in Virginia or whatever. I mean, there was no shortage of, maybe you got free internet from Juno, or maybe you got, who knows where you got your ISP service back then in 94, but there was basically nobody online when they started selling those accounts in terms of internet access. It was some, but not so much. To go from 0 to a billion took about a decade, right? And the rate of acceleration during that time kept getting bigger, right? And to go from 1 billion to 2 billion took like 5 years, right? That's because, again, the acceleration of online adoption continued to increase from 1 billion to 2 billion users, right? So it didn't slow down. It hasn't plateaued. There's still more people going online. Think about it. There's still not even the majority of humanity online. There's a few billion people, like 2 point something billion. Maybe we're getting closer to 3, but that's not even half of the population, right? And the rate of advance and adoption of people who are first online and then are able to be introduced to cryptocurrencies is also gaining speed, because the more people talk about it, the more YouTube videos you have to talk about it, the more media you have to talk about it, the more everything you have to go on about it, the more action they see on traditional markets about it, the more they read in traditional newspapers or see on traditional, news shows about it. There was a 60 Minutes interview. There was Sunday morning, CBS Sunday Morning or whatever they call it, with the Winklevi twins. There's, all kinds of coverage, more and more, of course, as the price goes up, right? Even if as it fights, right? Like you have all this gained interest, so the rate of adoption will be faster, in my opinion, than the rate of internet adoption, because internet adoption gives you access to something extremely important, which is information. But crypto gives you access to something which a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, value even more than information, which is ironic because information can gain you more of this, right? And that is money, value, currency, assets, store of value, utility, whatever you want to call it. Cryptocurrency provides you with all that and a bag of chips. Oh, and political censorship resistance, and immutability, and portability, and divisibility, and transferability, and everything else that you want to name. It has all these great assets, all these great qualities about it, which other assets don't have as much or as well as crypto does. Which is why the crypto marketing world is only just getting started. Yeah? All the crypto marketing you've seen until now, for the majority of the past 10 years, has all been marketing related to crypto for people in or interested in crypto, right? It's only in the last few years that we've really seen. Now, we've seen other attempts, earlier attempts, right? There are some companies that used to offer purchasing things in Bitcoin that took it off, a long time ago already. They don't offer it anymore. There are some companies that still sell things in crypto that, started a while back, and there are others that are coming online all the time. But we haven't seen the majority of mass retailers yet seeing a lot of action with actual crypto to crypto purchases, right? A lot of them will say they accept crypto, but really what they're taking is your crypto and immediately converting it into their fiat, and that's what they actually take. They're not really accepting crypto. But that's fine, because somebody is accepting crypto, right? Somebody is taking your crypto, the credit card company that's processing the transaction, and they're giving the vendor the fiat, or maybe maybe the vendor itself has their own merchant system and everything else. But the point is, somebody is buying the crypto you're selling, right? At the end of the day, it's not going into space and disappearing into nothing. It's getting converted into fiat, which means somebody bought that and gave somebody else fiat for it. So, yeah, that means that we are still in the early days and years, though, of seeing more and more retailers and merchants sell in crypto. And the ones who are doing that now are seeing big, big returns. Let's just be blunt about it. They're standing in line looking at possibly massive returns for a very simple reason. And that reason is that, we are not, like I said, at the end of a bull cycle. Not even close. We are at the beginning of a bull cycle, right? And I mean that as a 4-year thing. We are not standing in a position where this is going to end tomorrow. It's just not. If you are thinking that this is going to end tomorrow, I have news for you. No. We are not looking at marketing campaigns for crypto that will just disappear and have no value to anybody by the end of the day tomorrow. That's just not going to happen. So I would say get your marketing on. Be prepared. It's going to be a wild ride. I hope you are making the most of it and able to capitalize on it for your business. Of course, if you have any questions about marketing or you need any assistance with your marketing, by all means, give us a shout out. Let us know. Drop us a line, and we'll do our best to respond to you. So that's going to do it, folks. There's links in the comments, descriptions below, or there will be, and you can find whatever you need from there, whether it's a safe way to get a hardware wallet, or if you're looking for an exchange to try, or anything like that, or some good information about marketing in general with crypto. You can find all that in the description below. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. If you're here, appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, folks, take care.